So what I have on the agenda is we'll just have them, the commission approve the minutes, and then we'll have you do the presentation, and then you can exit the meeting, and then we'll have the rest of our meeting.
Sure, that sounds great.
The quorum stage, did you do that? We have?
Three out of five, yeah.
You do? All right. And Nicole Hansen is in the background. So I asked Annette Roth to present. She's with Creative District, which is something that we've talked about. Gosh, I think we started talking about that in 2022, even not just 2023. And it's a direction that the city would like to move forward with. And I know when we talked about it back in the day, we thought, just being new to this, that it was a heavy lift, or it was a lift of just the Arts Commission, but that's not the case. It would be multiple groups and entities in the city coming together. And so this will be my first actual presentation as well. So I just thought that that Annette could just give us a little overview of all things Creative District. She's also going to present, Sarah and Yiji, or other members are on there. Welcome. And that's also going to present next week. I think it's next week to the Economic Development Commission as well. So Sarah Perry is our King County Council member, and she is very energized about Creative District and has been trying to bring all of the cities in her jurisdiction around the table for this effort. So I thought it was time for them to give us a presentation. So Annette, it's all yours.
Do we want to do the minutes and things?
Oh, yeah, minutes.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
thank you. I've got this cold and I'm not thinking straight.
Yeah,
So thank you, Donna.
I'll make a motion to accept last month's meeting minutes.
Okay. And who will second it?
I'll second.
All right, cool. All right. All right, we're on.
Great. Well, thanks so much for having me, folks. I'm glad to be here. My name is Annette Roth. I'm the Community Development Manager for the Washington State Arts Commission, which is a state arts agency. I am currently in my house in Lacey, so glad to be able to join you all virtually and not have to drive through Seattle traffic at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a short presentation, about 10 minutes, that just gives a really high-level overview about our Creative District program and what it looks like. There's a lot of information that we have, but I know that I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I could probably take a couple questions if you have time for it. I'm more than happy to answer a few questions if I can, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I just have a quick PowerPoint to share with all of you, and then we can just go from there. Okay. All right. All right, so really quickly, I just want to talk a little bit about the creative districts and how communities can use the creative district as a mechanism to grow the local economy through arts and culture. Just a brief program history. The legislation for the program was introduced to the legislature in early 2017. We had broad bipartisan support. Almost everybody on both sides of the aisle supported the initial initiative, which was pretty astounding. And it became law in May of 2017 when Governor Inslee signed it into law. Our program began officially in January of 2018. I was brought on board in the fall to launch and develop the program. And we had our first creative district certified in December of that year, and that was the city of Edmonds. Really quickly, the RCW and the WACs are here. So those are essentially the legal guidelines around the program. I can forward over this PDF to you all when we're done. And so you can look up the RCWs or the WACs if you really want to. It's riveting information, let me tell you. So let's talk about what a creative district is. A creative district is a right-sized geographic area within a community. Generally speaking, a city. It exists oftentimes in the downtown-ish area of a city, but not always. We think of it as very much a vehicle for economic development opportunities. It's also a place that people can come to find out about the arts and culture activities that are happening. So when a visitor comes to town, they land in your creative district, they see all the cool stuff that's going on, and they know that this is a place where they can find some interesting experiences potentially. Many of our communities use their creative district as a tourism tool, as a tool to attract new businesses and to attract new residents to the community. Now, we have a really broad definition of what creative means. It's part of the creative economy. And that comprises everything from traditional artists like fine artists and painters, sculptors, performing arts, those kinds of things, all the way to app development, filmmaking. Authors are part of the creative economy. And, in many communities, they have sort of things that are localized to the community that they consider to be part of their creative economy. And so when you're thinking about what does this look like and what can a creative district be, we want you to think beyond just arts and culture. It's further than just that, right? And all of those things feed into what makes a community unique and interesting. So the program has a lot of community benefits. The state certification is one that is the primary benefit in that it is kind of a stamp of approval to a certain degree of your community as an arts and culture place of interest. We find that the state certification allows communities to build on that, to get more partnerships, to get more grants. They can take some of the work that they're doing and leverage that into larger opportunities for them. Many of our communities use it specifically to grow entrepreneurs in the arts and culture field. And help small business owners to become better business owners or to grow their businesses if that's what they want to. Communities use the certification as a way to organize collectively all of their arts and culture sector activities. Oftentimes you'll have a theater over here is doing this thing and a dance studio over here is doing that thing, but they're not necessarily talking to each other and they don't always know what's happening with each other. And so you can use this as a mechanism to be more comprehensive and collective in your approach to describing what your arts and culture looks like in your community. Many of the communities use the Creative District certification as a way to redevelop assets. We have capital project funding available for creative districts that they can use to leverage for new community projects or for redevelopment projects. And they also use it to strengthen their future. What we've been seeing over the past couple of years as we've gotten sort of through and past COVID is that communities are trying to figure out how are we going to knit ourselves back together? Where are we going to go now that COVID happened and some things have gone down? How are we going to be able to strengthen our community and bring it back together for the future? And the Creative District Initiative is a great way to do that because you do have to get input and feedback from the larger community to make it happen. So it's a pretty straightforward process to become a creative district. It is a planning, application, and certification process. We certify the communities. Each of the communities goes through the process that it takes however much time it takes. We've seen some communities get through this process in 6 or 8 months, and there are some communities that I've been working with for several years. We don't have a timeline that we require for the communities. We want them to get through the process in a way that makes sense for them. The process, we do have set criteria that all the communities need to demonstrate, but it's kind of customized for each community because we know that every community is different. Every creative district is going to be different. And so we've created a framework that communities can use to help discover what those arts and culture assets are and how they can leverage them into more opportunities for their communities. Now, we work pretty significantly with the communities, very closely with them as they need us to help them get through the process. So we provide, we do consultations for folks. We provide, these kinds of presentations and these kinds of meetings. We can do strategic planning support and helping with developing that, facilitating meetings, and providing a lot of service and a lot of support as communities go through the process. They're the ones who are supposed to do the work, but we want to help guide them through the process so they can be successful in their application and successful after they become certified. The whole entire process of becoming a creative district is designed around the idea that diverse community engagement helps to create authentic, real places. And those places are places where people, no matter who they are within the community, can feel like they belong. Right. And that's what we want to be able to see. And so we very much encourage folks to think extremely broadly when they're looking at who should we bring into this process. This right here is a map of the creative districts in various stages. So it's color coded. We actually have 17 creative districts now. So Ellensburg was just was certified as a creative district about a week and a half ago, actually. So we have 17 creative districts. Like I said, Port Townsend was the first. Ellensburg is the most recent. The dots in orange are in the pre-certification stage. So those are communities that are in the application process in various capacities. They're either working on their application or they've turned in their application, and we haven't we haven't had the panels to go through it yet, or they did go through the application process and they have to resubmit their application because there were some concerns with it, right? So that's what that color means. And then blue is communities that are in the planning stage. So they're actively planning their creative district. They're doing the work. They're, going through the community development process, but they haven't submitted their application yet. As you can see, it covers every single corner of Washington State, which we're really excited about. So I mentioned some of the support that we provide a minute ago. So we provide a lot of resources and guidance. We have an equitable application process, and it's very transparent. The application guidelines are published on our website. We want people to be able to see what they're getting themselves into before they get into it, right? So the questions are actually listed. The questions in the application are listed in the application guidelines. There are a lot of networking opportunities for creative districts with all of those communities, with all those creative districts. We have a cohort for rural communities specifically for them. They asked us for that because they need additional technical assistance that some of the larger cities or cities in the South Sound region don't really need to have. So we make sure that we can provide support to folks as they need it. We have an annual creative district conference. This year it's going to be in Chewelah. Last year it was in Port Townsend, so we try to alternate back and forth between East Side and West Side to just keep it equitable as much as possible. We offer each community a $10,000 startup grant. So most communities take that in 2 payments for $5,000 each for the first and second fiscal years for them. And then we also have capital project grants. So that's a pooled fund of capital project funding that all of the districts are eligible to apply for. They have to have capital projects that fit the criteria that we've laid out. But we have funded every single creative district at least once so far, and some of them have been funded a couple of times, 3 or 4 times even. We provide leadership training to districts in various capacities, including the rural cohort. We have a Change Leader Institute program that communities can go through. And then we also have a partnership with WashDOT to provide state branded highway signage for the creative districts. That's something that we are grateful that they are willing to participate with us in that. And WashDOT they underwrite 75% of the costs of development and installation of the signs. The creative districts underwrite the other 25% of the cost. Right now, we actually had some extra grant funding through our capital project grant fund. So for this biennium, we are underwriting the cost through that grant program. We may or may not be able to do that in the future, but it was something that we had an opportunity to do. We want to make sure that all the districts can get access to those signs, which actually are a requirement for recertification. So if you're thinking about what's going to make us successful, having a clearly defined arts and culture identity obviously is important, but really what will make or break a creative district is having broad community support and strong organizational partnerships. If those 2 things don't exist, if the people in your community don't know what the creative district is, they don't feel like they belong at the creative district, if folks coming into this, your organizational partners are not being very cooperative, or they're in it for ego purposes, it becomes really difficult to make this initiative last for the long term. There is a requirement that the city has to be part of the process. They can approve it or cooperate. They do not have to be the administrator if they don't want to be, although they could be if they want to. But because we are providing capital project funding, oftentimes which gets in the built environment within the city itself or within the municipality, they need to be part of the process. And then obviously having a solid plan and a long-term vision for the activities and growth of the creative district is something that we want to see. And we do require folks to submit updated, project plans over time. So that is our program in a nutshell. There's a lot more information, but I just wanted to give you all a pretty high overview of what it was all about. And I'm happy to take questions for a few minutes if anyone has any.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple questions. Thank you so much for this. So I'm Steve Pennington. I'm one of the arts commissioners. And I've been actively looking into the creative arts districts. I've had multiple conversations with Sarah Perry at this point, like I said, I'm pretty deep into it. So I have a couple questions that are gonna sound like weird, hard-hitting gotcha journalism things. But I was just kind of curious because you have a really unique perspective. So there are definitely, so the map is beautiful. I love the fact that Pullman is coming. That's where my alma mater is. Life is good there. Moscow's been eating their lunch in that space. But there are definitely some communities that aren't on the map, like there's no Wenatchee or Leavenworth.
I would think Leavenworth.
And so
That
my,
was
so my
surprising.
question is, are there communities that have been having having the conversation with you and then kind of weren't interested, or?
So that's a great question. So some of those communities, there have been people who have expressed interest. Like I've had conversations with people in Wenatchee and also in Leavenworth. But if they're not able to get it off the ground in their community, which happens, we've had some communities that they have wanted to go through this process and they're just not able to for whatever reason. Like they just don't have good cohesion, good community cohesion, or we've seen in a couple of communities when a person has come in and been very much like my way or the highway and kind of derails the process for everybody. If there aren't organizations who are willing to step up to the plate and like take this on as a work product for themselves, it's going to be really difficult to get this off the ground. So, so we do see that. I mean, we've seen some communities that have tried the process and they haven't gotten all the way through it, and so for us, I mean, we want to be able to support communities, but also we want to make sure that it's the right fit for them, right? Because there are some communities who think that being a creative district sounds cool, but they just don't have the stuff there, or they don't have the mechanism for making the stuff happen. And so that's something that gets discovered throughout the process. So far, of the 17 districts that we have, obviously all of them were certified. We have two. Let's see. So we've had about 22 applications total. Two of the creative districts that applied, they did not get certified and have not resubmitted their application. There were two other creative districts that did not get certified the first time around, but came back and, resubmitted their application and were able to get certified. So most of our districts make it on the first time. But not all of them, and that's part of the process. I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's an important part of the process. I'm actually really heartened to hear that, because it's important that people feel, we're talking about artists, right? And so it's important that they feel supported and that you guys are willing to say, okay, hey, go back and circle around and see what you think, and then come back and give it another run. That's actually
Right.
super cool.
That's a great question. You said you had a couple of different questions.
I have another one about, I don't wanna hog all the time. Does anybody else have a question?
Hi, I'm Donna. I'm also a commissioner. My questions are more around, you said there's some broad definitions, set criteria, but you didn't really get specific. Can you give more specifics around that? And then the second one is around, you said recertification. So what's that timing? So you get certified, but you have to be recertified? So what
For
is that
5
within like
years.
5 years? Okay.
Yeah, so it's at the 5-year mark, a community can become recertified. I do not recommend starting your planning process from the idea of getting recertified, like a lot of
No, I
people,
just
they
wondered
start
what it
asking those
was from that
questions.
perspective.
No, I get it. I totally do. But some people will start asking those questions. They're like on the 5-year plan. And it's like, gotta get through the first year first before you can start thinking about some of those other things. So, but to answer your first question, so we do have criteria. It's in the guidelines actually. So if you go to our website, and I'm not going to be able to remember all of them, but I can tell you some things. So, obviously having a defined geographic area within the community, it cannot be the entire city or an entire county. because that doesn't make sense, right? Because most cities are mostly residential. And so you want it to be in a place where there's a concentration of arts and culture activities or other ancillary activities that go along with that, right? So if someone's coming to your community to go to a festival, for example, they're going to want to get something to eat and they're going to want to buy something and they might need to stay in a hotel or something like that. So, you know, are all of those things kind of in the general region, in the general area? You know, having a concentration of arts and culture activities, having an organization that is willing to be the administrator and that has the cooperation with the city, with a coalition of partners is extremely important. It can either be a 501c3 or C6 or a municipal or tribal government. Those are the requirements for the program. We do want to see that the organization has fiduciary capabilities, you know, because you can be a nonprofit and have never actually had a budget before. And since we have state funding that goes along with this, and some of the districts are getting, you know, $100,000 or more in capital project funding, we need to make sure that the organization knows what to do with grant funding. You know, so there's a couple of other criteria that are sort of, I wouldn't say lesser criteria, but you know, they come along with the application process. So for example, if this is just a group of 5 or 6 people and they come up with this whole plan, but they never vet it with the community and they don't do public engagement and public outreach, that's going to be a big red flag for the application panel. And that's going to be something that they will want to be remedied. Do they have a good plan? Do they have a good solid understanding of what their community is, what it needs, and what they can do for the future? So those are some of the things that we're looking out for. If you go to our website, you will be able to see, we have a community readiness toolkit, which is kind of a planning guide for communities. It's a requirement to fill it out and submit it with your application. So that's something that you'll have to get involved in using. And then also the grant guidelines. The grant guidelines and then the application may change a little bit for next fiscal biennium or next fiscal year, but probably not. But if it does, it's not going to be radically different. It might just be some questions get refined or something along those lines. So hopefully that helped to answer your question.
I have 2 follow-up questions. I kind of looked out there for a minute. So are you saying that the city couldn't be it has to be a nonprofit, or could the city can be the person? Okay. The other question is, I'd had a conversation with somebody in Sarah Perry's office because I was concerned about whether it was, we basically have what I call 2 districts in Snoqualmie. We have our historic downtown, 4 miles up a main parkway, which we hope is a road WashDOT will take over, which would be a good place for the sign maybe, also besides I-90, is our Ridge district. And so my wish or thoughts would be that this creative district would be encompassed by both of those districts, not just the downtown, because we want to be a group that wants to promote arts throughout the whole city, just not one area. And then it is a walk, but it is pathway pedestrian friendly. And then there's elements of artistry, thinking outside the box, like you were saying, like we have breweries, we have wineries, you know, that could be considered like a type of art. So is that something that you would make us be just specific to the downtown versus the city as a whole? Although I also say the districts don't encompass the residents, the homes.
Right. So that's a great question. So one thing I can say is it's built into the law that it has to be a contiguous geographic area. So that's not something that we will compromise on. And you know, so you have to put them together some way or another. Part of the process of going through all of this is you guys will decide and help to define what that looks like. And so you might have an idea, Nicole, but if the community doesn't have the same idea, then, you know, there has to be some kind of a compromise that comes along with that. So what we will do oftentimes is provide that sort of third person perspective. You know, I mean, we had a community once of 10,000 people and they're like, our community is huge and we want the district to be 5 miles long. And it's like, your city's not even 5 miles long. So that doesn't really make sense, right? So we want to think about what does that look like? And you can have a district and people could be outside that district or be located outside that district and still be part of it, if that makes sense. Like the geographic boundary is arbitrary to a certain degree. It's a requirement of the program because that's how it was written. But that doesn't mean that people outside of it can't participate, right? Like if I go
Well,
to
and our downtown is
That's great.
historic. It doesn't mean that the Ridge has the history and, you know, we are one community. It's just we have two kind of different flavors
Yeah.
in each of
Sure.
the district, but we are one and we want everyone to understand we are one city. Even
I get
though we
that.
have these two flavors of.
Sure, I get that. And I think that
Purchase
some of
one,
the
purchase two.
development, some of that process, once you do some of this community engagement and getting some feedback from folks, the answer to that question is going to shake out really, really well, you know? And our job is to kind of vet that, honestly. You know, if we come there, if our folks come there and like the proposal for the district is either really small or way too big for the size of the community, that doesn't really make sense, and we can provide some feedback. But ultimately, it's up to you guys to decide what you want your creative district to look like. And then it's ultimately up to our the panelists and the board to approve that or not, you know. And if they have questions or concerns, they will come back to you with, you know, or they'll provide the feedback to me that I can provide it to you, and then we can, you know, go through that process. So I would say don't at this point, like starting with the where's it going to be and how big is it going to be and all that kind of stuff is important, but that's not the fundamental. The fundamental is like making sure that this passes the sniff test for your community. Is this something that people actually want to do? Are you going to be able to get people involved? What are our community values and what do we want our creative district to reflect of those community values, and how is that going to happen? Those are the really fundamental questions. Once you start getting into the whys and the hows we're going to do it and what's this project that we're going to take on, that's further down the road, but you really got to think about those fundamentals first before you get involved in anything else.
And that fits really well with, because when we started talking about this over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago, I think. We got to the word contiguous and then we moved it off of our near-term plans to our 5-year plan. Like it's always like that we're not gonna meet that criteria. And so your explanation softens that considerably, because we were terrified that we're gonna say, okay, if we've got 5 square blocks to work with and that's it, right? So so we've taken this time over the last year to be creative in our definitions and creative in our inclusion, like you say, diverse involvement in the in what is an arts district. So that is all, again, very heartening. So
Absolutely. I mean, we try to be flexible because we know every community is different. I mean, we have creative districts in the city of Seattle, and we have a creative district burgeoning in a town of 400 people. And everything in between, you know, so this is a project that can fit in multiple communities. It's just a matter of figuring out what works best for your individual community, you know. I know mentioned Sarah Perry, and this council member Perry has been mentioned a couple of times so far in this meeting, and she has acted very much as like a sort of a meeting point for folks. But all of the districts that are actively working on this, that are in sort of your region, they're not necessarily doing this in lockstep with the council member's office. You know, she's just that convener and the information outer, I guess you could say. But, you know, once that happens, we start working more directly with them, you know, because it's not for us, we have to make sure that we can provide equitable services to all the districts and all the communities that are part of it. So, you know, our goal is to make sure that we can do that. So like, you know, Woodinville is going through this process right now. So I've been working with them, and I'll actually be going to Woodinville in a couple of next week to do a visit and to have some conversations with folks. And there've been a couple of other communities that have shown interest, but at some point it becomes like, all right, you all are doing your initiative and that's the work that you're doing. And it's kind of separate from, you know, some of those other communities. So, because I think for some folks I heard some feedback from folks who reached out to me that were a little concerned or confused about, does this mean now that we have to go through their office to get this done? And that's not the case at all. So if there were questions about that, then that's where the differentiation is, if that makes sense.
I think this would be good. This is good timing for Woodinville because they need a boost to their art scene. I think that they're under a lot of pressure from just kind of the evil developers right now, if that makes sense.
So I want to offer
those
Nicole
stories.
Hansen, do you have a question?
No, I just unmuted myself because, you know, I've been to a number of these creative districts, and I think for all of our knowledge and information, I think the shape of it like Annette's saying, could be defined by us. I think if we have community partners at each end of the anchor, there's no reason it couldn't be shaped like a Z, you know, going down Center Parkway and, I mean, Center to the Parkway to downtown. So I think that we could include whatever shape we wanted, as long as we have the community support for it.
Right. And yes, that's absolutely true. I mean, I don't think we have a single district that's like properly geometric. You know, all of
Yeah,
them.
well, and one of the things that we have now for us is that there's some projects underway that would bridge those areas, I
That's
think,
what I
you know,
was
like
thinking.
if we get the model train museum put together, that sort of thing. There's some other things in the works.
I
So
know
that's-
somebody with a
Something to
carousel.
consider as well is you don't have to start your creative district encompassing all of the entire area. You will have an opportunity after you become certified to expand the boundaries of your district if you choose to. That's something that is allowable. So we often recommend that, because when you're thinking about resource allocation, if you have a huge 5 square mile area, it's difficult to make sure that you can allocate, you know, resources equally throughout that area. So sometimes it's better to start a little bit smaller and get really good in the area that you're in, and then you can expand over time. And we've seen a couple of creative districts do that, where they've tightened it up a little bit and then, you know, they've expanded. And that's worked really well for them, especially because as stuff starts happening within their districts, you know, there's like a sort of a glow, if you will, of the districts, you know, where if you're in a community and I'm walking through downtown Olympia or whatever, I'm not going to get to the end of the block where the creative district ends and be like, oh, I have to turn around now because that creative district stops here. That's not how it works, right? People are going to explore. And so, you know, it's okay to have things that aren't within the specific boundaries, because people are going to come and find interesting things anyway, right? And we even have some of our communities where they have a large geographic area because it's a rural community. And so the town or the downtown is like the nexus point, but they have people who are 4 or 5 miles outside of it that are connected to it. And they just use marketing and promotional work to get people to be connected in that way. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you can use and different techniques you can use to include people, even if they're not in the specific physical boundaries.
So Nicole Weeby, then my other question is for you. Is the city considering being the administrator of this at this point?
I think we're still in the exploratory stage, but I would say that's where it's heading, but it's not just the Arts Commission, like I think we thought when we talked about this a year and a half ago, which is why the EDC is getting be presented to it. You know, we have a downtown merchants, we have a Ridge merchants, we've got other nonprofits in the community. So I would envision a group of stakeholders that make up the creative district, but it's not going to be the burden of the Arts Commission alone, and hence me.
So almost like a merchant association, but it would be an arts commission.
But yeah,
I mean,
it's,
a district,
Right, 'cause
arts
there's
district, commission.
there's a checklist of like, you need
Got it.
representatives from the school district, you need representatives from the emergency.
Sure.
Yeah, and they would all
Right.
be almost like a merchant association.
I would heard those
Everything's separate.
kittens. Yeah.
There's
Could be,
something
right.
similar
It
where
is-
the city is involved as well. Got
It
it.
is about herding cats a little bit. I can tell you, I can just give you a couple of ideas of configurations that we have seen. So we've had only a few, not very many. It's not the majority, maybe about a third of the communities have the city as the actual administrator, and it's generally split. Or it's either split between like the economic development folks, like in Edmonds, it's the economic development director and the arts and culture director. They co-run the district. In Moses Lake, they actually hired a half-time FTE whose job is creative district coordinator. In a couple of the other cities, it's like a staff person who does it. We have not seen any communities where an arts commission, that's a sort of a committee of the city, has taken on the administration. You know, that doesn't mean it couldn't, we just haven't seen that happen yet. So as it relates to other types of organizations, most of them are, you know, either nonprofits or they're nonprofits in partnership with the city. So we have several communities where the Main Street organization is the creative district administrator. We have a couple of communities where there's a standalone creative district that was developed, like it was designed to do this work. In a couple of communities, we see the Chamber of Commerce, will take on the administration, and they're in partnership with the city. So in Olympia, for example, right now, the city is the technical administrator, but they have kind of farmed out the work to right now to their downtown association, and they're looking at transferring it to a more permanent location with another nonprofit that can take on the work permanently, so they can be a little bit more. We're doing that for political reasons, right? Because in Olympia, the downtown association is seen as being like very business centric and not as much art centric. So the configurations look a little bit different in every community. So for us, it doesn't really matter. I would say that unless there's staff at the city to manage this, it's going to be really challenging to get the city to be able to like shepherd the process. So that would be something that you would want to consider. If you have a liaison for this between the city and the Arts Commission, that's awesome, right? But we haven't seen any cities that have been the administrator without having a person, or they contract with an outside organization to do the work. So essentially a nonprofit to do the work.
I think that Sarah Perry has done a good job of energizing the cities in her district to have this conversation. But we'll reach a point where we need to pull ourselves off from that. And as a community of stakeholders, it's what we move forward with. She has also said in her advice to our mayor has been identify a nonprofit rather than the city. But I also think that is a persuasion tactic so that cities don't realize that it's not their burden taking that on, but that might be the direction that we go as a city. So I just want to say to the commission, like, that could be one way that we go, but it might not be the way that we go. But there's energy towards this for sure. I just don't know who's going to spearhead it, but like you said, the city will have a seat at the table.
Sure. And so what we recommend realistically is, so this is kind of the beginning stages. I know you all have been doing some work internally to have this conversation, but the next stage is really gathering that support and getting to this, there's like 4 steps in the process, which I had a slide for, but I didn't show it because I wanted to make sure that we could get through this. But essentially you're kind of in the beginning, the gathering stage. Like we're starting to have this conversation. We're starting to see if this is something that people are interested in. We want to do this, but we have to start gathering our partners. So the conversation now should be had with the Chamber of Commerce, the school district, local social service nonprofit organizations, the library, community colleges, if you have them, local business owners, arts and culture organizations, artists and creatives themselves. If there's anchor businesses or anchor institutions that are in your community, like an Ace Hardware that's been there for 9 million years, and that's the place to go to, that kind of person, those kinds of organizations and businesses are the types of people. If you have a tourism board, if you have whatever those kinds of things are that are unique to your community, those are the places where you want to start. You want to be able to get kids involved in this somehow. So you got to get the school district there. Or, if there's other kinds of social organizations that people participate in, those are the people to have conversations with. Not all of them are going to participate necessarily, but you want to be able to start getting the word out there. Some communities use the Rotary as a mechanism, right? So they go and do a presentation at the Rotary, and then all the people who are in the Rotary learn more about it, and then that helps to feed into that group of people. And so what will happen is you'll start to have these conversations, and then enough people will think that it's a good idea and will want to participate that you can really start to create a strong steering committee. And your steering committee will have levels. You'll have like the inner circle of folks, which is maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 8 to 12 people potentially, give or take, that are going to do the actual work. And then you have a sort of larger circle of folks that's maybe 25 or 30 that are, representing those organizations that we're talking to. And then you have a larger circle, which tends to be the greater community. And each one of those groups are going to have input and participate in different ways. And so making sure that you have mechanisms over time in place to manage all of that is going to be important, right? So there's going to be a lot of, various levels of work that people are going to do, and we can help talk you through the process, but the conversation right now should be, are there other partners and other folks out there that can help us get this off the ground and can bring the right people to the table, can help us to reach out to building owners, whatever the case might be, whatever your unique situation is in Snoqualmie, like you mentioned with Woodinville. Yeah, the whole thing that you were talking about with the developers is a thing that it's a problem for them, kind of, right? And so they're trying to figure out, what does that look like? That's not the case in other places. In other places, they had different kinds of issues, and so they had to bring different folks to the table. So you know your community better than I do, obviously, but also there's a kind of a formula for getting through this. And so, as long as you can figure out what that looks like for you and what the cadence of that is, you'll be able to get through this pretty easily, I think.
Thank you, and I'll tell our commissioners that Annette is gonna present at the EDC meeting next Wednesday morning. So if you wanted to zoom in on that meeting, you could hear a presentation, and maybe the Q&A might be different and fill in more gaps. So feel free to attend that.
The questions will be very different. I can guarantee you
Yeah,
that.
yeah, so it can be like, attending a different presentation. So
Exactly.
I-
I'll essentially give the same presentation,
Right.
But then it will just be different because the people will have different concerns and questions.
yeah, the lens at which they look at it is different. So
So I had one more question, but it's gonna be a pain in everybody's butt. So is there a chance of sending you an email and asking you questions? Or?
Of course, absolutely. You can do that. What we try to do is, as people go through this process, we like to funnel it through one or two people, so if you have questions, or if there's a group of people, I believe in transparency of, I work for the government. So, if you ask me a question, other people are going to get sort of CC'd on that, just because it's important for us to all be on the same page as we're going through this process. But yeah, I'm here. That's my job, is to help people through this process. So I'm available to answer any questions that people could have.
Excellent, thank you.
thank you.
You bet.
Thank you so much. So
You're welcome.
this is at the end of your day, and the next meeting will be at the beginning of your day. So we'll
What's that?
catch you on both ends.
All right, sounds great. Well, thanks for the
Thanks,
time,
Annette.
everybody. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
I gotcha.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we've got simultaneously, we're talking about Creative Arts District. We already have a DMO that's up and getting started. We already had a destination marketing organization. We already have a Main Street USA project that's up and underway. And so there's gonna be some questions around how do all these work and play well when there's like 5 people doing everything. So it's it would be great to get her advice on how she's merged, not just because I understand the people, representatives from different teams, like you have people from the merchants and people from the school district, et cetera. That's cool, but there's so many other projects going on as well. And we should probably put this on a maybe next month's agenda to have, because
Okay,
we could all talk for quite a while, I imagine, on this topic.
Well, she was 45 minutes,
Yeah,
so.
that's why, so we should probably move on to Nicole's wonderful.
yeah.
But I mean, it's good. It was very interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having her come as a guest.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing is designate a new chair.
Donna doesn't want to do it.
Well, first of all, can we introduce Sarah?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you again. Cool.
Yeah.
Hi, I met her at the gallery thing, so I'm like, oh, I know Sarah, but yeah, no one else. Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome to the Arts Commission. Grateful to have you aboard.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm Donna, and I've been with the commission a few years now, and I'm gonna shoot it over to you, Steve, so you can introduce it.
We met at the artist meet and greet, so nice to see you again.
And everybody else, could you please introduce yourself to Sarah?
Hi, Sarah. It's Yishu. I'm new too.
She's newer to the commission as well, but also we're very excited to have her here. And then Nicole.
Hi, Nicole Hansen. I've also been with the commission for a couple of years and have specific interest in our plein air events and our mural events. So there's lots of interesting things you'll hear about. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining. And so each one of us on the commission usually has some sort of event we have a passion for, and we kind of run that event. And then when we get together once a month, we give updates on what we're doing, but we also help participate and volunteer to help each other if there's things that we can do. So plein air is kind of a passion for Nicole and myself, and we've been running it for the last couple of years. And then you're working on art off the rails, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we have Chalk the Block events. Those are real simple, just, Nicole does a great job of advertising for us, and we'll have them like at Snoqualmie Days and some of the festivals where kids can go and just chalk up the sidewalks and have some fun. So that's pretty much all we do. And Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess my husband and I moved to Snoqualmie 3 years ago now, 2.5. It goes fast. And I currently work at an architecture firm in Seattle. And I guess what got me kind of interested in it is that we do a lot of public projects, and we're often on the other side with kind of the project kind of managers working with the Arts Commission to find an artist for our project, because we do a lot of incorporating that 1% of art into the building plans and working with artists kind of from that angle. So that's kind of what got me interested in Arts Commission, and I thought it'd be kind of a fun way to meet people in the community and get involved.
Great, good to have you. Now you can find yourself a new chairperson.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll take Donna off of the hot seat. Donna and Kat, who was just in the room a little bit ago, Kat Cotton was on the Arts Commission. She's now one of our council members, but she is very happily our Arts Commission liaison to the city council. And so Donna would like to step down from her chair position. It's actually, we were not asking her to step down at all, but some of the commissions, they are working towards like every year changing it over, just so that there's different levels of responsibilities and energies. So is anybody interested in nominating themselves or nominating somebody else? And I will say, so that no one is super scared about it, well, Donna would have a different take on it, how much work is involved. I produce the agenda and do the minutes, and Donna kind of runs the meetings and kind of keeps us on track. But other than that, I feel like I don't burden you too much with things, but you would speak differently towards that maybe because you're the chair, I'm not.
No, that sounds, I usually was keeping notes on like what our year-long plan was. And then there was the pop-up have to present to the city council that showed up. So
Yeah.
there was that then.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
So,
and I don't know if that's gonna become an annual thing
Yeah, I
or
don't know
not,
either.
yeah. So,
So I was gonna nominate me,
cool.
but if that's
How does everybody feel about that?
but at the same time, I just, partly just because I've been around for a while and I've not taken a turn at it, but if I don't think experience is necessarily a virtue on this, so if somebody else would like to take a crack at it, I'm happy to help out, but I'm happy to do it as well.
So I'm just going to jump in since we have 2 new people and just say that in the past, we've also had co-leads. So I'm not in a position right now to step up into a leadership position. I have a number of other projects I'm working on, but if one of you 2 are interested, Steve, absolutely am cool with you stepping up and all of us voting you in. And I would want these 2 people to know that it has been a co-lead position in the past as well. So if you wanted to co-lead with Steve, you don't have to stump on him. You could partner in it as well. So, but I feel like whomever is interested should nominate themselves and we can vote, but just wanted everyone to know there's options.
I second Steve too. Second and then.
I mean, I can't technically nominate myself, I can volunteer for it, and then you can nominate me, and then somebody has to second that.
Okay, so Steve's gonna volunteer, Donna, you'll nominate,
Sure.
Okay.
I'll
I
second.
have
and
nominated
then Nicole,
Steve.
and then Nicole Hansen second.
And the Robert's rules begin.
And then we
You guys have been
technically have to
nominated.
vote. Wait, I'm going to keep us in order. Yeah, we have to vote. So, sorry, I didn't know if you guys were voting. Everyone.
We don't know who's in charge right now.
Okay,
We're-
so
we're
everyone who
transitioning.
wants to vote Steve, we've nominated
Say
Steve,
aye.
seconded Steve, so everyone who wants to vote, say aye.
I,
I,
Nays,
Aye.
say nay. All right, there you go. The ayes have it.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Nicole.
And now Steve can do
Congratulations.
it.
It's so shocking that you've been.
Give me the
I-
gavel. Oh,
Yeah, I only pointed it
my
out
notes.
because earlier we said we'd adopt the minutes and we seconded to adopt the minutes and then we didn't vote on it. So we
No.
obviously need to
Yeah,
save the
no,
stuff
and
earlier, but
yeah,
Steve,
we
now
thought
you can do
that.
it.
Yeah, Nicole was in a hurry. She had a friend. We had somebody on hold, so I get it, but yeah, so all in favor of accepting the minutes?
I wanna change to the minutes. One of the events is not listed, August 17th, Snoqualmie Days, Chop the Block at the firehouse.
Oh, thank you. I'll add the date. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll take that as a friendly amendment. So then all in
So I
favor
move-
of accepting with the amendment?
I second.
Yeah, it's a friendly amendment. I think we could just take it,
Yeah.
but acclamation, so.
I agree.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I have it.
He refuses to vote.
Sorry, I'm
She was here,
looking at,
she was like 66% of the people here last time, 33%, yeah. But
so what are we voting right now?
oh, we just voted on accepting we motioned and accepted before the presentation on accepting last month's meeting notes.
Yes,
And we,
yes, so yes,
we hadn't actually voted on it.
Yeah, there was just the
Well,
one.
I was
I
just-
messed us up. Sorry. That was my fault, Yuju.
yeah,
I messed us up.
that's
by
great.
making
So
it.
I will vote yes on you to be the lead, so that's
Yeah,
yeah, yes, yeah.
that's,
So
I
I have-
to go over talking, go ahead.
I have question about the budget. So is that a set budget that we have every years, or is just everybody doing their project and then they just submit whatever the expense is?
Table that to when we get to the budget agendas.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Cause right now, we're finishing it with the chair and then we're
Yeah.
gonna go to red, white and boom.
All right.
Have we accomplished what you need for the chair?
Yes, we're good.
Seems that way.
We're
Cool.
good.
Okay, next on the agenda is the red, white, boom chalk event.
Yeah. So,
So that could be in July this year.
Something came across my desk and it was puzzling to me. So last year, the Arts Commission did a chalk the block at the 4th of July event, but it was in the morning as part of the ROA's Kids Parade. The evening fireworks show is done by the Church on the Ridge in the community, and they had a chalk station. And at first I thought, wait a minute, that's the Arts Commission, what's going on? And I realized that they've just added this into the activities and there's a sponsorship. So I wanted to let you guys know that it's available. It's an outreach opportunity, but the requirements would be one, a cash sponsorship of $550, which the Arts Commission can afford to do it. But the other thing is that there would have to be someone there from 7 to 9 to man or to staff the event. And so that's not my decision to make, because that's you guys. So I didn't know if that's an opportunity that you guys wanted, because I could ask them to, give you all of the proper branding, that currently exists for the Arts Commission, Chalk the Block. So I just didn't know. I just wanted to bring that to you guys to see if you wanted to do.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
I just wanna repeat back what you said, so
Yeah.
you're saying there's an existing Chalk the Block event attached to Red, White and Boom, and we have an opportunity of taking that over and putting our branding on it for this year.
Yes, I was not aware that this existed. I've never been given the sponsorship opportunities in the past, so yes, so there's an opportunity. I get the feeling that they saw a successful thing in the morning last year and thought, ooh, that would be a great activity, and then
May I?
yeah, absolutely, and so they're now monetizing it and selling it. So I also think that if the Arts Commission wanted to participate in the evening, it would probably not be free. We just couldn't show up and do our outreach. So.
Okay.
But also, I'm trying to think, and I'm looking at the minutes, Did you, I don't know if we talked about planning for the 4th of July, but I don't think we necessarily committed to the 4th of July on that day. I think we talked about it. You guys had done it last year,
Yeah,
but I
because
don't
I've always done it.
But, you know, it takes staffing. So if you want to do it on the 4th, you could have two options. You could do it for the ROA in the morning, or you could do it in the evening.
And pay $550.
And pay 500, and you would reach more people.
Who am I paying for Red, White and Boom? Church on the Ridge?
We would be paying the Church on the Ridge
So
event.
the Church on the Ridge, let me understand this
Yeah.
correctly. The Church on the Ridge saw our chock-a-block event.
I don't know.
Likely.
I don't know.
These pictures look very familiar.
Okay, I was not there.
I
Okay.
was.
Okay, I was not
And
there.
saw that and went, ooh, let's bundle that. This seems sneaky.
Yeah, I'm not, this is my super amused face. Yeah, yeah. This is,
So they bundled
weird.
it into a.
so we can do it for free in the morning, we can pay to do it in the evening. But if we do
Or
a
we
good
could do
enough
it at
job in the
different events.
morning, then the whole. the whole
Exactly,
city will be
Nicole.
colored
You
in
could
chalk.
just avoid the 4th of July and everyone can enjoy your holiday.
Well, why couldn't we
Um,
still do it, but not have to pay them?
Because there is the possibility that another entity in the community would, like,
But I
let's
just meant the morning one. We
the
could
morning one, we
with
could,
the
the ROA,
parade and all
could
of
you set
that.
up in the ROA in the morning, right, in the parking lot?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was-
but that's my question is, because that's what we did, was the morning more with the fair.
Right,
Versus, and maybe this is because the boom is paid for, with like all the fireworks and so on. So it's a different event, it's like two
It is,
events on
it
the
is.
same day.
it used to be the history of the ROA event is that
That's-
there was no fireworks show at night.
Right.
The only party in town was the ROA daytime party, and
Yeah.
that tradition is alive and well. And then when the city banned
So-
fireworks, then the ROA, or then the Church on the Ridge fireworks show is coming.
So this is just to raise money for that fireworks show.
And to
the
provide
family
activities
and
for all of the
activity.
people coming
Yeah,
in, getting
so
their
we
seat on
should
the lawn.
Do our morning one.
Absolutely,
And then
I would,
I wouldn't
yeah.
wanna pay the $550.
Okay.
yeah,
in my
I would,
opinion.
I would vote to do what we've always done, or at least did last year.
1 year,
I don't know how
yeah, our second.
It's a
annual.
tradition, my mom
It's a
would call that a
tradition.
tradition. My mom will call it tradition in advance, and then just pretend that the evening thing doesn't exist.
That is completely up to you guys, I
Which is how I
wanted
do
you to
the
know
red,
there
white.
was an opportunity.
I enjoy the Red, White and Boom. I think it's a very nice community event and I just think from a $550 perspective in our budget and. This is our fiduciary responsibility to be cognizant of our community's dollars and not everybody in the community goes to that event, so.
How do we, so
My
do you wanna vote
opinion
on
would be
this? Do we, is this,
No,
is this some-
no,
just,
this
this is
is-
something you're bringing to our
This is
attention?
something I'm
It's
bringing
an
to your,
opportunity
it's an opportunity
Could have
and
pursued,
absolutely, and if there's no interest, there is no interest, and then I can
but
reach
I
out
only
to them.
speaking for me. so
Yeah, and
other
that's my
people-
question is those, because like, does anyone have an interest in paying $550 to do the same thing we were gonna do in the morning, but later at night?
No,
Did I frame that as damning as possible?
Use you, no.
She's very
I
decisive,
have some idea to
I
spend
love
the
that.
money, but
Very-
not this one.
very decisive. Ideas on spending money,
I love it.
that's, I just
Okay.
think our fiduciary responsibility and not to spend our community's
Okay.
money that way. But I do have one question. Chalk the Block was hosted always by Kat. That was her passion, was to do Chalk the Block and make sure those events, that there was, she was I helped her with it, but I was not the main. We do not have anybody who owns this event.
That's correct.
So we need somebody in the team to own the event, or the event gets squashed altogether, and we don't have it at all.
That's correct.
Well, I mean, yeah, so I think that we can, if anybody knows somebody, if anybody that's on the Arts Commission wants to drive the Chalk the Blocks, then they definitely should. But if anybody knows somebody that would be interested, that isn't an arts commissioner, but that would be a.
It's a
like,
reliable
that would be a
volunteer.
reliable volunteer that we can support and promote and would like to be kind of the feet on the ground for that. Then we would definitely like to hear that as well. So I mean, it's best if a commissioner is involved directly, but good second choice is just a really excited citizen.
Wouldn't a commissioner need to be involved?
Well, I mean,
anyway?
and involved, yes, but
Yeah.
not the,
So they would kind of
Yeah.
need to own it still.
some, you don't
In
have,
some
you don't have to be the, you don't have to be the engine that Cat is, you know what I mean?
The chalk
Like-
the block is a simple task. It's literally pick up the chalk, make sure you're at the place and you're handing it out to the kids. And there's a tent. It wasn't, I mean, because I did it with her at the Red, White and Blue. So it's not a heavy lift.
Is that traditionally the first thing on the first chalk?
Well, I mean, we've kind of done different variations of
Yeah.
it in the last couple of years, but last year it was the 4th of July, and then
And
this
so
year-
mommy days.
Kat, in her role with the fire department, is bringing the chocolate block to the pancake breakfast. I think what she'll probably do is have some of the fire explorer volunteers
Help out.
do that, and she'll oversee it. And for all we know, maybe Kat would want to, as a council
She
person
might.
liaison, she might be interested.
She
in
really
4th of
liked
July.
it, but it is in a heavy lift, but I think that you still need somebody to be on the council who kind of owns it, because then they get the tent, they get all the chalk. Well, you know,
Yeah.
you can have somebody who's a volunteer that mans the booth, but you still need kind of somebody
Yeah.
who can get all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's fine. I'm just saying that we can get the energy from the community if you know somebody, be sure to bring that. All right, any other track the block questions? Okay, Nicole,
Okay.
hit us with your budget stuff.
Yeah.
Iju has a
So-
question for you.
Yiju, the city, we have a budget that's allocated and voted, you know, how much money that we have to spend. And so I sent out the budget information, and I think I've captured almost everything. And interestingly, I will say this was pretty spot on. We spent pretty much what was available to us to spend. There is a little slush fund that we didn't tap into, but I think that's good that we didn't use up everything. So what you see here, we have that ability to spend the same this year. Already I'm noticing, like in the miscellaneous category, the survey, that was $1,500. We aren't gonna be doing that this year. We pulled the community, Snoqualmie Days. We might trade out what we spent on murals. There was talk of maybe getting some equipment and painting, like something with lumber or plywood, an elk face thing. So there's a bit of a trade-off, but already I'm seeing close to $2,000 in savings. So this is a good base. What were your questions, Yiju, specifically?
So I was surprised how much that the event that costs for that, like art train, like $4,000, and plein airs another $4,000, which is it is
Some of
a little
those heavy.
bit more of my expectation, but I guess if
So some of those expenses, so the art on the train event design, the initial design, that was a new event. So that artwork is expensive in the beginning, and then we use the same artwork for a few years. So then it wouldn't be as expensive, there would be updates. The plein air, the basic design is the same, but we're tweaking and growing that event. So we're adding some collateral materials every year, but not too much of the design is changing. Our branding is there. So I would say those costs would be the same, but the Arts Commission and the work that we do, it not only is it celebrating and promoting and activating and programming arts in the community, it's also an opportunity for us to bring people from outside the area to experience the art opportunities that we have. In order to do that, it's necessary to have quality art and marketing and design to be able to promote ourselves at a level that we can be proud of. So that's why there is an investment in the marketing.
So my next question is that I remember a few years ago I have a conversation with you about if it's possible to have a junior plein air event. So instead of adult, they will have the junior, that's the kids, they will
Yeah.
do the plein air, the stuff, and then we will still giving the prize. Maybe we can hang, I can talk to the art gallery, we can hang it in the for months. And so it's a cooperating events, but it will reach up to a younger generation. And so I also noticed that they change the day to a different day, so it's a little nicer for the artists, but I don't know if how many people actually participate in the event. I just want to know. Like last year, I did participate.
Have as many people participate, but it also, we didn't get marketing out early enough. Our goal this year is to get it out earlier with plein air.
Okay.
Are we talking budget or do you want to talk project specific?
I think for me it's the same thing. I mean, budget is the thing.
There, I will say if you guys have the capacity as volunteers to have, and that means people taking ownership of it, if there's an interest in a capacity for a junior plein air, I can tell you that there's the money in the budget to be able to do some marketing that is specific to juniors. Although another thing we could do is there could be just additional information regarding the junior plein air event included in the existing
Right.
plein air, so that we don't have competition. But as far as prizes, for a junior event, there's the budget for
We
it.
could figure it out.
Yeah, it's there. The money's there.
I want to jump in and say, I feel a little bit like we had a thoughtful plan about how to grow this event and make it a professional event. And we've always welcomed juniors, but I don't think there's harm in letting it be aimed at professionals and adults for a couple of years while we grow it, and then potentially having a junior category in the years to come, strategically or thoughtfully. Doesn't mean we couldn't do it.
I think that has been our discussion, yours and mine, Nicole, for a while, is that we wanted to get the branding down, grow it more, get it so that we actually have a turnkey event. So it's not a scramble, like, okay, we're gonna get our media out this month. We're gonna get the postcards, and it's becoming more of an organized professional event. That's what you and I have always talked about, and then adding on a junior event later on down the road.
Well, I just threw out the idea. I was not like really pursue. One thing I really want to pursue is the community art class. It's not related to our gallery, but it's something I have passion. I saw the library, Snoqualmie, not the old city Snoqualmie, it's a Snoqualmie library that has people that are hosting the art class for the senior members. And so
the city has got an agreement with the art gallery, and the city is hosting classes, I think 5 or 6 in the old library.
I'm not talking about that.
Oh, not that? There's something different?
No, actually
That's still
I'm
amazing, though.
talking I will probably write down a little more, but it's the idea of using the city Snoqualmie City Library, not the downtown one, but the one in Snoqualmie Ridge. I talked to the librarian there, and they are really excited about have art class there, because they say there's a growing demand in all age. They wants to have people teaching how to do art. But the thing is, with city using the public library, we cannot charge money. It has to be free class. So I was hoping that we have some budget there that we can actually fund a free art class, like maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and then we can hire a teacher to teach a community a free art class. And
Yes, so,
but it's just my idea. I don't know if how
the city, I have a partnership agreement with the library, but KCLS, I have an agreement with them. They are great partners to the city. They participate in a lot of our events. The mayor and I will be meeting with the library, next month, just to talk about different things. I'm just giving you all the facts, but I think that that is a really nice idea.
I love that
It
idea.
complements it, it reaches a generation of people and also on the ridge, and yes, there would be money to pay for the instructors.
Yeah.
That is part of our mission, is to educate people
And
in
I
the
think
arts.
we had that pre-COVID where like we had some art that happened up at the juvenile facility.
Echo Glen.
Yeah, and so I love it. I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea to have.
I mean, you
that
present,
opportunity and different types of style art. It doesn't even have to be one. It can be, you know, painting, and we've talked about like, what about sewing? What about origami? What about, you can even tie it to seasons and, you know, cultural events,
Yeah.
because we really have a diverse community up here. So
Yeah,
I think
so-
it's wonderful.
So just to kind of get us onto a little bit of a track, so I feel like you were asking these questions, like, we're talking about budget, you were getting questions like, is there budget to do some of these other projects?
Yeah,
ideas,
yes,
potentially? And
because-
you know, and there's always ways to figure stuff out when it
Yeah.
comes to finances and budget for these sorts of things. So I would say let's put together an email that kind of outlines your vision for each of these two.
and the cost, because if it's like $1,000, that's a different conversation than if it's $175 to $200, like. There is a range of
Yeah.
what we can afford to pay.
Yeah, and let's put something down, and then if we need to allocate some funds from the Arts Commission, or if we need to find sponsorships, or however the world can happen, you know, or partnerships or whatever, let's have that conversation. Not in the context of starting from the budget and seeing if we can pull something out. I'd like to just have a conversation of what you guys would like to do. I think that our two new members, I think we lost somebody, but Sarah got bored with us, but I think maybe it would be a good idea for us to have a kind of a mini brainstorming get together meeting. We did a retreat in October. Yeah, I think it was October. But of course you guys weren't there. And so I feel like it would be great to have time where we all get together and have these conversations to talk about the things that you'd like to bring to the table in specific. I think that'd be a really great idea, because we've with so much turnover and new people, we want to make sure that everybody's ideas get heard and get proper acknowledgement and consideration. So so if you could kind of write something up, and then let's talk about getting some time on the calendar before the summer hits us here in like a day and a half.
And we don't have a lot of activities that are in the late fall, even in the winter months, and you know, most things are indoors. I mean, those seem like activities that would be wonderful for that time. Like, people are looking for things to do because the weather's not that great, and I want to get out of the house. I would come to your art to teach me. So I mean, I think that we have lots of opportunity to find places to put something like this in.
Well, I talked to the library, the librarian that in charge the teen and adult, whatever there was like a manager or something. They said they will love to have this kind of activity, and they would even provide part of the supplies.
Part of the
So we just
supplies,
kind of
yes,
have to
true.
talk to them, but the gallery cannot teach free class, so we do have to have a way of paying the instructor, either it's sewing or it's teaching how to
Right.
play guitars, or we can or art class for
simple.
seniors.
An
Yeah, so
invoice to me, but we would need to know what the costs are in advance to see if the budget can handle it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's very simple.
Let's put
Yeah.
together a plan and
Yeah.
and they like to have a quarterly, so they like to have every 3 months, and then so
Yeah,
it's
so
not
we
just
just need
summer.
we need a proposal as a group to review like costs, potential dates, things like that.
I have
So-
no idea how much it will cost.
Well, yeah, that's when you talk to the instructors and what they would charge, and like, will they offer bringing supplies in to assist, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nicole, did you have specific?
No,
so-
you guys had just wanted to see the budget and kind of see where we're at,
See where
so,
we're hitting it.
yeah, how we're hitting it, so.
No, thank you, and I appreciate, I didn't mean to cause you extra work by sending me the
No.
separately for the
No.
for the art off the rails, but it helps me get caught up, so, excellent. Sorry, I've got the meeting agenda on my.
It's art off the rails.
Oh. Okay, who's got that?
You,
That'd
Oh.
be you.
Okay, I worked with Michelle last week and got offloaded all of her thoughts and notes and her notebook of information for Art Off the Rails. We went through everything line by line. It was a good chat. We're gonna schedule a meeting in a month to check in again, so that if I come up with any questions, but I've also had several meetings with Deb Landers from Arts and Industries. We have, the budget will be framed up and finalized this week so that we have an idea. It's gonna be less than we spent last year, but we do have to tweak a couple things, so I have to get that research done this week. We have the initial flyer done, that'll be finalized tonight. There's 2 logos to be updated, and then that'll be going into the online marketing for the Art Off the Rails event that is again on June 15th. So we will have that into the hands of interested musicians, interested artists, et cetera, via the online portals. We are also, we've had sit-down meetings with the Downtown Snoqualmie Merchants Association, the Downtown North Bend Merchants Association, and talked about how the partnerships can work with all of those organizations, which also gives us that gives us a nonprofit at each of the 3 stations for doing things that only nonprofits can do. The 3 stations being downtown Snoqualmie, the train shed, and downtown North Bend. Everything's kind of coming together really well. I will send an email out to all of you so that you can sign up or forward or however you want to do for signing up to be artists, musicians, volunteers, et cetera. The webpage will go live hopefully by the end of this week. If I'm good at my job, we'll see. Any questions about Art Off the Rails? No? Does that take us to new business?
Yeah, I have an update on the mural. Nicole Hansen is here, so
Yay.
yay, yeah, this is exciting. So, last week on Monday, I spoke on the phone to the owner of the Carousel Building, a very interesting gentleman. He understands the whole relationship and intersect between arts, economic development, business. He's on the same page. I just need to nudge him. He's the first step. And he asked me, what's the next step? I said, you signing this document. So I need to work on that. And then Nicole, today I met with the city attorney, and I revisited all of the documents that you'd worked so hard on last year and reviewed them. So I'm gonna take the RFQ and prepare that. One of the city staff planners last year had looked at it and added a few kind of planning language things. And I will have you review that, and we'll get that ready, because when the landlord signs the agreement, then the next steps would be putting out the RFQ. There is, we don't currently have any planners working on staff. We have a consultant planner, and he's been assigned to this project, and he will work with me. Apparently, code has changed a little bit, maybe in our favor, so it might be a little bit easier and a little more expeditious to get this thing through. But I keep telling everybody, like, I need this done. I need this done by September. Like, that's painting weather, right? Like, but I want it done before, and I need it done with the budget this year. So I'm making progress. It's painfully slow, but I'm making progress.
Yeah.
This is great news. Thank you so much for your hard work. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I look forward to, like, once we are a couple steps closer, kind of talking again about the schedule and refining the schedule so we can get that all
Maybe by the
in.
end.
But we had a good schedule last year, so we probably just have to move the dates. And
Right?
We had an ambitious
Exciting.
one. It was ambitious, but I mean, it's it's, you know, it's progress and that's
It is.
amazing.
It is forward momentum. We're not
Yeah.
going backwards.
Not going backwards.
It did sit with legal much longer than I would have hoped, but you know, we lost our in-house.
Oh, that's legal. I mean, I work with them all the time. It's like, oh. geez.
Well, we lost 2 in-house counsel and we
Yeah.
went, and we got 1 guy doing all the needs of the city, so,
Yeah. Well, you made progress.
yeah,
Isn't
so
it
I
exciting?
am making progress, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel,
Thank you.
anyhow, fingers and toes all crossed, so that's my update, Steve.
Awesome, no, that's super good.
That's super good. And we got art off the rails in just a few months.
it's-
That's just a few months away.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I
Terror,
Lots of
straight
work.
terror. So I've got several items for does anybody else have any new business?
I'd like to give an update on plein air.
Sure.
Thank you.
How's that now?
So.
I know, my bad.
I know, cause it's, we, you know,
Yeah,
it's,
no,
it's hard
do it.
times. So plein air is on July 20th. We're asking Nicole to get us our quick media, save the date. The location, not the location, but
I'll reach out to the designer this week,
our
Yeah.
theme this year is going to be the bridges of Snoqualmie.
love it.
And
Do you want the bridges of Snoqualmie or bridges of Snoqualmie?
I think it's bridges, right?
Okay.
Bridges, Snoqualmie, bridges of Snoqualmie,
Love it.
and we're gonna have 2 locations. And for the artists to select from. I don't know the names of those bridges though, that I do.
Okay, so that's Nicole
You said,
Homework, okay.
I'm sorry, July
July 20th.
20th, okay.
So if I could get the names of the bridge,
Are you doing the one at the roundabout?
yeah, the roundabout
I think I-
Salish
okay.
one going
I'll
that
get the
way.
proper name.
And then that one. And so I just need that. And if you have like a map, like kind of,
Do you want the designer to design a map that's an artistic illustration map, or do you want a Google?
just kind of something that
A
we're gonna
GIS
put on the day of event card. So,
Okay.
you know, we've got the day of event card here, something that's like on the back.
Okay, so that's a little
Yeah.
further on down the
That
road,
can be
okay.
Yeah, that can be
It's a
further
little
down. the
further
road.
down the road,
Okay.
yes. And then the last, we have somebody who's joined us.
Hi, Camille.
Hi, Camille.
Audio's not connected yet.
No?
Okay, is there additional new business?
No, she's not done with
I'm
me.
Oh, you're
not
still doing
sure.
play.
Somebody has joined the Arts Commission, are you a guest?
It's a public meeting, so.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
The other thing I was going to ask, apologize, I got a little derailed. Nicole, I was thinking that we could just set up our booth and make it the registration day of event registration place will be on the boardwalk. Like on the corner of King and something or other, cause that's kind of like right in between the two.
Yep.
And then way, when they come back with their artwork, there'll be public around and things like that, so that could be kind of nice. A little bit more activity. But I think we're just getting ready to do the save the date. I'll get you a copy on the postcards and then we'll be pretty much.
so the
ready to
save the
go.
date, kind of a simple thing using some of the artwork and just the date and location and the theme and then contact information.
Say more to come.
Okay,
you
something
know.
that you guys can plop into an email or a social media post or something
Yeah,
like that,
and then
okay.
I'm almost done with copy for this, and then if we can get saved a date in March, I would like to do by mid-May or beginning of May, the rest of the details, but it's the save the date that's critical to get more people to mark it on their
Absolutely.
calendar.
Okay,
Yeah, Nicole, just to follow up on that, I'm thinking like when we send it out to all these art organizations in the region, just
Yeah.
having like that quick save the date like you were talking about would be perfect. So
Okay.
send them
And
for
then we
social
wanted to
media
use
posts.
it also for past participants.
and sending them something. We
Yeah.
can, okay, so we can send that out sooner than later, just to get it on their radar, okay, cool.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. That's done for plein air.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
any other new business before I go down my list? Okay, social media, I was able to recover our control of the Snoqualmie Arts Commission Facebook page. I had created it originally and I was taken off of it when I had to leave the commission. And then the people who were admins on it were a combination of not here anymore and didn't know how to fix it. So that it took a little while, but so I have control of the Facebook page. I would love to know if anybody is interested in helping to kind of form a social market or social media strategy around the Arts Commission stuff. It's good, like it's a handy way for us to cross advertise the things for the, you know, we repost everything that happens from the art gallery and from some of our other partner organizations and stuff. So if anybody's interested, just let me know. And we'll set up kind of a separate conversation around overall strategy now that we've got that back.
Excuse me.
We've got we lost Sarah. She sent a note saying that she had to put a sick baby to bed. Yiju, do you have your city email yet?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you're good and you're up and working. You've got some problems with yours.
Never worked.
And my laptop, it won't work, but my home computer and my phone, it does, which is a little frustrating.
Yep.
So I will do a survey and make sure we'll put together, Nicole, if you can be our front person for it. Put together kind of a group, like this is where we are with our, cause we need to make sure, cause we are out of compliance if more than, if any one person is on their private email, then we're probably okay, but as soon as there's two, we're in trouble. So, because we wouldn't be able to satisfy a Freedom of Information Act, so.
Well, if I could get mine to work.
Yeah, well, and that's
That
what
would be
I'm saying,
awesome.
that's what I'm saying, we will submit a separate, like a group thing for anybody that has issues. And then the other half of that is, since we've got a new IT director to break in, the photo repository space that we were promised, but then we lost that person, so. So I will follow up with those with Nicole and report back next month on status or on email if we get it working. And then probably the last thing on my list is, Nicole, what is your preferred methodology for us to make sure that we get items to you for the agenda? Like, do you want us to wait until you send the agenda out and then
No,
we
that's
reply
too late.
back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so should we set would you like me to have like a timer for, I can send the group an email, or you can, however you wanna do it,
Yeah,
the
usually-
Monday of?
Yeah, I usually
Monday
do
before.
the agenda the Thursday or Friday before the meeting,
Yeah.
that's when I legally have to do it, so anytime that week before, like maybe the Wednesday. of
Okay,
the
so
week before is-
I'll remind everybody, and maybe we can get a draft of the list, or I guess if there's, cause if we just say, what do we wanna see on the agenda, then everybody's gonna reply back with the same things, right? But maybe, I just wanna make sure that we don't, that we're as, I don't want it to be an extra work for you, I want this to be a benefit, but I also wanna make
Right.
sure that we're not getting
Yeah.
to the event and then having half the things be not on the list. Which is.
Well, I'm just gonna throw out that, Nicole, you have done such a great job with the agenda. In the
Yeah.
years that I have been here, capturing the things we want from the meeting before and being prepared for the meeting upcoming, and, I know for yeah, absolutely, and I know for a number of us, like, Steve, if I want something on the agenda, I don't necessarily need a reminder. If I know it's not on the agenda from the month before, then I would just shoot Nicole a message and say, hey, are you thinking about this, or is this going on? So,
What I've been
I think
doing.
it's up to, I think it's up to the group if we want to set our own calendar reminders, or if we kind of see how the process goes. It's totally fine if you send a reminder email. I'm not saying not to, it's just that, think
Yeah,
the
I just wanna make
process
sure that we get
really
into the
well so
habit
far.
that we're thinking of it in that regard, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
That's what I've been doing, is giving you.
Yeah, you usually
I
have
don't,
something,
I don't wait until the end of the month or even when we
Yeah,
get close to
and
the
then
meeting.
I
I'm
just move
like,
ahead,
here,
if I
put
don't
it
hear
on
from
the
anybody, I
next
kind of,
agenda.
yeah.
But we should always have our events, each one listed while we're in the throes of putting it in play.
That makes us sound so serious when things are in play. I love it.
Are there any other new items? I will
Nothing from me. I need dinner. That's the newest item.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
It has been entertained. I second it.
Cool. You guys for a lot. Thanks, you guys.